2023 meeting of the Little Rock Parks and Recreation Commission. Thank you all for being here. We'll go ahead and get started with a roll call. So I'm going to call on Ms. Katie to help with that, please.
Commissioner Bowie.
Here.
Commissioner Eldridge. Commissioner Ellis. Commissioner Firstel.
Here.
Commissioner Fletcher.
Present.
Commissioner France.
He's in the process of logging on right now, but he'll be here in a moment.
Commissioner Smith. Commissioner Bernardo.
Here.
Commissioner Barra. Director Peck. Director Lewis. City Attorney Carpenter.
Here.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. By my count, we have 7 out of 9 commissioners present today, which gives us more than a quorum, so we will proceed with official business. Again, thanks everybody for being here. First order of business according to the agenda is to review and approve the meeting minutes from last month, July. So commissioners, did anyone have any questions, comments, changes to the July meeting minutes? Move for approval by Commissioner Firstel. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Barr. Any final discussion about the meeting minutes from July? All commissioners in favor of approval, please say aye. Any opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. Thank you all very much. Next up on the agenda is our citizen communication. And I happen to know that we are going to have some citizen communication today. So I will ask Joy. I met Joy a little bit ago. Joy's going to approach the podium. And Joy, you've got 3 minutes to share your comments with us today. Thank you very much. Please introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Joy Rockenbaugh. I am a citizen of Little Rock. I have been a member of the Jim Daly Fitness Center for over 30 years. I'm a health educator by a degree and a personal trainer. I use Jim Daly Fitness Center. I used it for my own fitness level improvement. And after I retired from the Arkansas Department of Health after 33 years, I became a personal trainer. I specialize in people who are older, who want to either gain more strength and flexibility, or who want to finally become fit so that they can age in place. Jim Daly Fitness Center has been a huge factor in so many people of low income and with disabilities who are able to afford the fitness center and go there. And a really big part of fitness, flexibility, endurance for a lot of my clients is the indoor pool. And it's been closed now for quite a number of months. And when the winter months coming on, I have clients who, and this doesn't have anything to do with my income at all. I have a lot of friends and we go to that pool. When the weather gets cold, they will have no opportunity for exercise. And that's the way a huge number of them deal with arthritis and chronic pain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Joy. Appreciate that. Any other citizen communication? Yes, ma'am. Please approach. Tell us who you are, please.
I'm Bettina Brownstein. I've been at the fitness center since it opened. I'm here with, as you can see, a group of people who have all taken time out of their day because the fitness center is so important to them to come and speak to you. I want to say, first of all, I hope that everyone here who hasn't been to the fitness center, and I don't recognize any of your faces, and I'm there a lot, will take the time to come and visit it. It's truly a remarkable institution for this city for the reason that I think it's one of the few places where people of all walks of life, income levels, race, ethnic group, you name it, gather there in a very congenial atmosphere. And it's just a wonderful place to be. So we want it to be supported and promoted, and we don't feel that way right now. It's the indoor pool. We don't know when it's going to be finished. We don't see any signs of any work on it. The outdoor pool is going to close. You're going to see a huge loss in membership, and the employees are worried. What are they going to do if both pools are closed? And let me just say a moment about the staff there. I don't know who the parks director is here. Is it you? Sorry. Since the pandemic, the fitness center has improved greatly. The staff has done a wonderful job. Luana, I don't know her last name, Michael Washington, head of aquatics, Jalen, others. It's cleaner, it's better, every single way, and that needs to be supported. So we want to know, Mr. Head of Fitness Parks Department, when is that indoor pool going to be open, and why is there no work being done on it, and why does nobody have any information to give us? Nobody knows anything, seemingly. So that's what we're here for. We want you to know how much the city needs that place, how much we support it, and we want to know what you're doing to make sure that that stays that way and when that indoor pool is going to be open. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Any other citizen communication? Yes, please. Come on up. Let us know who you are, please.
Hi, my name is Lane Brett. I'm a citizen of Little Rock. I was born and raised here. My career took me away for many years. I've been back about 3 years. I can tell you that Little Rock Parks Department, I lived in Virginia Beach, Virginia for 30 years, who a lot of people would think that was a really beautiful, wonderful place. You guys have got so many more parks, and the Jim Daly Center is a gem. And I know that things happen, and we all understand that some things break and you have to fix them. But I think the lack of transparency and all the rumors that are just circulating and the staff being, concerned. But I saw from the budget that it has been allocated, and we were just wondering, have the architects done their survey of the equipment, and has that been ordered? And just, we really would just like a timeline. I can see from the budget that it says that it should be a completion date of January of 2024 for not only the indoor pool, but for the outdoor project, which is not as critical. Obviously, the indoor project hopefully will get bumped in front of the outdoor because the outdoor is working now, and we need the indoor, up and operating. I don't know if anybody has the answers to that. Is that January 2024 completion date still accurate?
I'll address all the questions when all the communication is completed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, very good. Any further citizen communication? All right, perfect. Thank you all for your comments and your feedback. It is much appreciated. As Director Couch did mention just a moment ago, he's going to have some words to address some of your comments and your questions. And if everything is not addressed today, then we'll certainly try to get back to you as quickly as we can. Very quickly, just a sidebar, Brianna, Commissioner France is still having a bit of technical difficulty. If you could maybe reach out to him, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. All right. Next up on the agenda, we're going to have our staff reports. And so, Director Couch, I'll turn the floor to you to get started there.
Okay, so thank you for the citizen communication. I'll use this time to, before we start with staff reports, just to address the communication just briefly. And I apologize for the lack of transparency. I really do try to have transparency in our department, and feel free to always be able to come here and or ask or request for information from our department at City Hall. And I'll work with our staff to make sure that Michael and the guys at Jim Daly and the girls there are more informed. But I'll just start where this started. So this started back in January of this year. We had a complete failure of our HVAC system there, which I'm sure y'all have heard some of that. It was not something that we could fix. We hired, at the time, Grant Engineering Associates to come out and do a quick review to understand why we couldn't fix it. Didn't understand what it was, what was the issue, never heard that we couldn't just make some kind of repair to continue the system. They had actually completed a system analysis back in 2017, which stated that we had some issues that needed to be addressed. I wasn't involved in that and don't know why certain things were not addressed. That being said, we quickly moved into selection and hiring Cromwell Architects. I don't know the exact time frame, but roughly February of this year, just because of the time frame of having all that approved. Cromwell has done their survey of the whole facility. They've looked at all the different needs that are associated with the indoor pool, the HVAC and all that. Just so everybody understands, the HVAC is not something that we go and buy at a local dealer or something. It is something that a mechanical engineer actually designs to fit that actual space. So it actually takes a lot of time to actually design what is the most current, sustainable, efficient model for that space. That took some time as well. We met with Cromwell several times throughout the spring to make sure that everything was being completed to the best standards for us and for the design, as well as we looked at what else would be needed while the pool was shut down, which is the resurfacing of the pool, the swim deck, the ladders, the lights, so several different little things like that. Also to deal with the hot tub and just the general space as a whole. Windows, there's a bunch of other little things that I won't get into. In July, we had a finished design package. We are finalizing the bid documents as we speak. Staff over here, Justin Dorsey, part of his report, which I'm taking some of his time, was going to give a brief update on this, but I'm giving a more elaborate one. We're hopeful to be able to put out an official bid in August of this year, so this month. That takes some time too. That'll be a 30-day bid, and then we'll see what kind of bids we get. I can't promise you an exact time frame because I can't promise you that we'll have successful bids or what those bids will look like. Once we hopefully have a successful bid, we'll work with that contractor to or that vendor to finalize a contract. That takes a little bit of time as well. All this will hopefully be expedited as fast as possible with the goal to get something ordered and up and running as soon as possible. We're doing everything we can to push this. And just on the outside pool, that's been designed. We're ready to bid that as well. As it was commented, the indoor pool is the important thing. We're making sure that we have enough funds to actually do the indoor pool. Our cost estimate for the indoor pool was roughly $2 million. We have roughly, I think, 1.5 set in the bond, if everybody saw that. And so we're just trying to make sure that the indoor is expedited and that we do have the funding to do that. Don't be alarmed to the fact that there's a $2 million. We put in other things in there like new lighting, some roof repairs, and some other things that we knew needed to be addressed. We'll put those in there as alternates so that we can achieve those things if we get additional funding. But if we don't, we will definitely be able to get the HVAC and the pool up and running as soon as possible. So hopefully that gives the group here a little bit more understanding. Again, my office is always open to come and set a meeting with me and ask me or my staff some questions, and we'll do a better job in informing our staff. So appreciate your time, and then we'll turn it over to our staff. We'll start with administration.
Yeah, just one quick announcement before we pass it over to Ms. Nelson, just letting everyone know that Commissioner France has joined us here online. So just making that known. All right, very good.
All right, thank you. So Angela, if you could just give us a quick brief staff report.
Okay, continuing with administration, we are continuing to address administrative policies and updates and HR-related issues. We have filled our administrative assistant for the director, Katie Staley, who is here today. Katie, wave. We're glad to have her aboard. And also we have a meta selection for our park planner. So right now we do have two positions that we have filled. We're also proceeding to interview for our parks marketing and social media coordinator, our outdoor recreation coordinator, and the construction and planning manager. We're in the process of revamping positions to fit our structure and needs for our organization. I believe there's a couple of positions in maintenance, and there's a couple of positions in operations. We have also found a need to get more hands on board in our recreation area. Got a request to increase staff at our community centers. Moving on, as a department, we're continuing to progress with our Parks Handbook. Then we will progress with our Parks Manual and Procedure Manual. This is just a broad view of the policies for our department. We are continuing to stay abreast on our reconciling for our financial records. Continuing with audits that has to deal with petty cash, register procedures, also cash handling procedures. We're focusing on monthly submission of taxes. We have to submit taxes on a monthly basis. Also focusing on the accuracy of our divisional assets. Sometime last week, we were able to meet at our Park Stat meeting. We had a great turnout, gave us the opportunity to focus on divisional goals and different ways that we can improve. We also met as an accreditation team meeting. It was a very informative meeting where we dealt with ideas on how we can become more effective as a team and accomplish our goal of receiving accreditation. We also have a conference that's coming up in September. It's the Arkansas Recreation and Parks Association. We have been focusing on submission of awards. We submitted 5 awards last year, and we won 5 awards last year. So we did submit 3 this year, and hopefully we will be as successful. That is my reports for resources.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nelson. I appreciate that. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Nelson before we move on to the next set of reports?
Yeah, just a quick question. What is the accreditation? Is it in state or national, or what is the accreditation that the group is seeking?
That is national. Yeah, it's 5 years we focus on. We probably will reapply maybe next year. That's what we're trying to focus on next year.
Any other questions? Katie, welcome aboard. Glad to have you here. Okay, Director Couch.
We'll turn it over to Recreation to Shawanda.
Good afternoon. As Angela mentioned, we will have interviews starting today for our outdoor recreation coordinator. And we're very excited about that position and opportunities, provide opportunities and experiences for kids outdoors. Also, the community centers, Stevens, Dunbar, West Central, Southwest, and East Little Rock have been very busy this summer acting as cooling centers. And so they've been providing spaces for the public to take a break from the heat. So I would like to commend the staff for providing those spaces and assisting the public. They provided snacks, water, chips, cashews, NutriBars, and various things for the general public. So I would like to commend them for that. Also, I would like to commend them for completing the summer playground program. All of our sites have ended. We had about 525 kids to participate this summer in the summer playground program. In our therapeutic recreation division, we had about 40 kids in that after school summer playground program. The Military Museum is continuing to host 2 traveling exhibits during the end of the summer. The Color of Freedom, honoring the diversity of American servicewomen, and the other one is Manufacturing Victory, the Arson of Democracy. So if you have not had opportunity to go by the museum, please do so. And also, we are losing one of our key personnel from the museum. She's moving on to a new position and taking care of family. So we will duly miss her on our staff. And midnight basketball will end this week on the 11th. We have Jim Daly, West Central, and Southwest locations. So if you are out late and you would like to enjoy the last week of midnight basketball, please do so at those locations. We're gearing up for our volleyball season. So registration is still open for anyone who would like to register your kids for our volleyball sessions. Jim Daly has wrapped up their pool, movies at the pool, and they're getting ready to start new activities there. I think they had about 61 people to attend all of the movie events and activities. So they're gearing up for the winter months, as we mentioned earlier. The pool will stay open. It will close on October the 28th. And if the weather permits, we will possibly extend the time of the pool staying open at Jim Daly. And this concludes my report.
All right, very good. Questions from commissioners? Commissioner Verstal, go ahead.
Is this working?
Yes, it is. Go ahead.
So regarding the pool, I mean, realistically, this is going to be well into next year. Is there a temporary fix, like that we could do to the outdoor pool to extend the season? So a bubble or something like that?
We've considered, I mean, that's a great question. So typically we close, like we just started our closing procedures for our other outdoor pool. So typically we start closing our pools around when when school starts back. So that's why we're pushing the outdoor pool as long as possible. Swanda stated October 28th. We've talked about trying to go even longer. Typically we have a dog swim in the summer, and then we shut it down. So we are prolonging it, and we'll try to push it longer than that. But yeah, that's the thought we've had. We considered a bubble, but in terms of the cost of it, we're really trying to put all of our money into the other. So this is just one of those issues that we don't have an easy fix. There wasn't anything else that we could do at the moment's time. So our goal is to try to get it up before, the main winter season. But as you said, there's no promise on that. I mean, it's just what the contractor and the bids and everything will work out. So appreciate the idea always.
And some of our staff have changed the dynamics of the programming there. They've changed it from water to land. So they're trying to provide other opportunities for them. But, of course, they would like the water. And so we just unfortunately don't have that indoor space.
Any other questions for Ms. Craig?
Is there anything that the city can do with UALR? Do they still have the pool there?
My understanding was, yes, they do. Shawanda, we did talk about reaching out this was in January. I don't recall what we did for that in terms of, we notified, I think, North Little Rock and Euler, some other indoor pool facilities that we had this challenge. But did anything else come of that conversation?
No.
Yeah.
That's what we ran into. A lot of people are programming their own spaces.
Any other questions? All right, very good. Thank you, Ms. Craig. And congratulations on over 500 kids for the summer playground program. That's fantastic news. Okay, Director Couch.
Okay, Justin, moving on to operations.
Great, thank you. So the big story, I guess, and kind of run through operations. So I know it's August, but if you go out and look at the grass or talk to the mowing crew, you couldn't tell it, because normally by now, if you walk, we're crunching on dead grass, usually mid-August. And golly, with the heat and the amount of rain that we're still having, it's an ongoing struggle and effort that usually we're past by this point. So having to try to keep up with that, with everything else, has really kept those guys going. So we're still rolling with all of that and not able to switch over and kind of roll into some other projects that we usually are this time of year. But so that's been a big thing. Urban Forestry and several of other crews have really focused a lot at War Memorial. We've got several projects going on there. Obviously working with our neighbors, getting ready for some big events coming up the end of this month and the first weekend in September with the Salt Bowl and the Razorback game going on there, wanting the park to look obviously its very best for that big event and for the tourism and everything coming into the city there. So that's going on. We've completed all our bid documents for the Alsup North mountain bike trails. That's all been submitted to RDOT, just waiting authority to bid that. So as soon as that comes back, hopefully that project will go out to bid. It'll be exciting to see that moving forward. We've completed some site plans and some playground designs for both Kiwanis and Pankey Parks, and we've said that you've got some dates there in front of you in your packet. I would like to invite everybody, if you want to save those dates or mark those on your calendar for some pop-up meetings, we'll be having it at the parks to get some citizen feedback and just get the community involved to hear their thoughts on some of the future developments of those parks. And those are August 17th at Pankey from 5 to 6. And then Kiwanis will be September 14th from 4 to 6 p.m. And those will be at those respective parks. We're continuing to monitor Canis Park improvements. That particular project's been a little bit of a challenge. There have been some issues with the contractor there and with some of the subs that's been kind of putting the project on hold and moving it behind schedule a little bit more than we would want. And these things just happen periodically on projects, and this has just kind of been one of those very unfortunate things. But we're working with Cromwell and the architect firm to do all that we can do with that. But that has been a real challenge. Some other projects that we've got going on that are exciting that we've worked on this month. The construction crew's done a lot of work out at Rebsman Golf, kind of working on the whole 14 area and doing some drainage and cart path repairs out there. So that area looks really nice. Appreciate their work on that. We were also excited to help at Kern Conway and with ULR on their baseball field project. They had a big project there on the ball field. So if you go to any ULR ball games, we were able to help with some haul off and work with a contractor on that, and able to actually reuse some of those some of that fletchings to sprig some of the areas and fix some of the areas at First Tee. So kind of a good partnership there with them on that. The Riverfront Treehouse is moving along. That boardwalk project is still going. Up to this point, a lot of the work there has been kind of in the shop and kind of behind the scenes, the planning and the welding. But now they're actually on site. The track hose there as of this morning. Concrete's going in the morning on the footers, and things are starting to happen on site. So make sure if you are down that way to check that out. It's exciting to see. And then lastly, the Interstate Road Project was scheduled to start. They had a notice to proceed and we're supposed to be on site August 7th. That was this Monday. Obviously, it's rained Monday and rained Tuesday. They're still not on site. I've got an email to check into them, but we'll follow up. But they're supposed to be there now, but this week has been a little less conducive weather-wise for starting a road project. But excited to actually see that happen, which we're just right there, getting that project started as well. So a lot of exciting stuff happening. And then as Leland mentioned, Jim Daly. We reviewed those plans and just waiting to get the actual bid documents back, hopefully this week, if not early next week, and ready to kick those out to bid. So,
All right, very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Dorsey. Any questions for Mr. Dorsey? Yes, Linda.
The work is ongoing. So there's work being done, but the best way possibly to describe it is the concept of one step forward, two steps back, kind of procedure. A lot of issues with subs not performing work as spec'd out in the drawings and in the plans, and so when stuff's done incorrectly and has to be redone or taken out and then rescheduled, those type things just take even longer to get rescheduled and done So there's a lot of those type issues that are just kind of back and forth. And so I know they're having some issues with their subcontractors on that. So, but looking right now, hopefully we're kind of to the end of getting that lined out, at least on the road. So that's our first focus, is to get all those type issues lined out so that can be paved and finalized and get that phase of the project open.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just a general comment on the contractors. We've seen it a lot in the last couple of years for court surfacing and whatnot. I'm dealing with it right now on a project up in Northwest Arkansas that when I talked to the architect and engineer for a Benton project, they're trying to figure out how to add some verbiage into their bids so that the prime contractor who receives it actually has like boots on the ground and actually is doing X% of the work, not just paperwork and operations on the back end. It may just be something to consider. I know some contracts aren't going to ever work out that way, but it may be something to consider down the road. I'm seeing it more and more that people are just getting bids, and I mean they're just pushing paperwork and not really doing anything on the ground. So it tends to slow down the project.
Good feedback. Thank you. Commissioner Fletcher. Anybody else? Final questions? All right, very good. Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Appreciate that. Director Couch, I think that's it for staff reports. So moving on to the agenda, the next update is for golf tournament, and Commissioner Eldridge is not able to be with us today, so we'll move past that and go to scorecard analysis update. And that's finalized, so no update on that. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to subcommittee reports. So let's first tap into social media and outreach. So Commissioner France, do you have any update that you'd like to share on that front?
No really update. I guess I wanted to ask Angela, and I was late to the meeting. Has a social media and marketing coordinator been hired?
No, they have not been hired.
Okay. Have you?
We
I was just
hadn't-
kind of. Have you?
No, we haven't
Go ahead.
started
Have you
interviewing.
Okay. Have you posted it?
It is posted.
Have you gotten some good applicants yet?
Yes, there are quite a few.
Good. Well, I would like. I don't only have a report, but just when he or she gets hired, I would love to sit down with, because I don't want to start anything new until he or she is hired. So once they're hired, I want to sit down with him and her and visit more about how we can make it social media a big thing for the parks. So that's all I have.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner France. Okay, let's move on to the master plan subcommittee. Commissioner Smith, any update this month?
Update, but I am excited when we get to the sales tax section to hear more about the projects that will be in parks, because it does follow so much of the good master planning work that has gone on earlier. And so glad to spend my time hearing about the sales tax.
Very good. Thank you very much. It's definitely going to be a topic we'll cover here in just a couple of moments. Parks Conservancy update. Parks Conservancy is in the middle of a very public campaign. Hopefully you all have seen a number of bits and pieces of information coming out of the Conservancy. Obviously last month we had some projects that were supported by the Conservancy, and also I think for those of you here, I've passed out a brochure that the Parks Conservancy has recently used and will be using for additional promotion. For those of you who have not, and I think most everybody, I think all the commissioners are on board, but if you haven't, commissioners, we'd love for you to be a friend of the Parks Conservancy. Go to cityparksconservancy.org, sign up today, become a friend. Appreciate that. Okay, let's see. Moving on to the agenda, new business, upcoming events. Any upcoming events that we wanted to specifically call out, Director Couch?
Yes, absolutely. It's already been covered from Justin's perspective, but our pop-up meetings that we have at Kiwanis and Pankey, those upcoming, and any support that you could come if you could make it to those meetings. And then also I'm going to share in the sales tax that there's some upcoming public meetings that are starting August 14th through August 30th for the sales tax.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Director Couch. Appreciate that. Following the agenda, golf tournament update, we're going to skip past that one. We're going to next go to the safety and security in parks. And I believe, Director Couch, we have a guest here.
Yes, Courtney Perry, who y'all appreciated last time and asked for him to come back to give a summary. We'll give a brief summary and have a few minutes for question and answers about any individual part. So he'll just have a quick summary and then look into the detailed questions if there are any. Perry, if you could start.
Good afternoon. My name is Courtney Perry, as you said. I'm the safety and training coordinator for Little Rock Parks and Recreation. So the last time I was here, I presented some data on crime in our Little Rock, on crime in our parks. And that information was based on data that I gathered from the LRPD data portal. Consequent to that, I was asked to come back and sort of break the information down a little bit, show trends more specific to each park, as well as provide a basic summary. But what we'll do is we'll start with the summary. If you look at your screen, so what you're looking at up there is all that you see are the crimes that are common to our Little Rock parks. You can see what the top two are up there, which are theft of property and breaking and entering, which a lot of times they're interrelated. And you can kind of see all the rest of the way down there. In addition to that, it's a lot of information, and I certainly won't go through each and every one. But if there's a particular park that sparks your interest that you want to know about, as far as the crime trends in a particular park, we can take this time to sort of review that. Is there any parks that you are particularly interested in that you would like to know about? Yes, ma'am.
I'm interested in Murray and especially the Lock and Dam parking area.
Yeah. Okay. Would you go ahead and skip down to Murray, Brianna? As we scroll through, you'll notice that the tabs are green, yellow, and red. Basically, what those are, they are my estimation based on the data, of which parks tend to not have as much crime, which would be the green ones. A caveat on that is that what the data shows is what has been reported. No data doesn't mean that there isn't anything that's actually or any crime that's at all that's happening at the particular park, right? So we have to take that with a grain of salt. Yellow tend to be moderate crime, where red, you tend to see more of the different types of crime in that particular park. As far as Murray Park, looks like you look at the top, the top of that arc right there, and if you can see let me go up a little bit so I can read the bottom and see what that particular. So at that particular park, breaking and entering into vehicles tend to be the top, as you mentioned.
So it looks maybe to me like the theft of property and breaking and entering, you have exactly the same numbers.
Yeah. Right. 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 Sometimes they're interrelated, but they're not always. Right. Okay. If you go all the way to the right, because all this data and all this information has to mean something. What can we do to actually help ourselves to bring crime down in our parks? One suggestion is keep going all the way to the right, is to install camera pods. Something I've been looking into for a company called Overwatch Solutions. The thing about these is they're completely contained. You don't have to hook them up. They don't require any infrastructure to work. Let's see. Which could really help us, to address a lot of issues that of crime that we're having in our parks, including things like homelessness and illegal dumping and such. Next slide. One right after that. Go back one. Another good thing about these pods is you're able to actually monitor multiple parks at once and multiple areas in a particular park at once. Is something that we can also, that links to our cell phones or our iPad or the desktop, right? So I think this has a lot of promise as far as how far it could go to help us as parks, to help ourselves to monitor in real time a lot of the things that's going on in our parks. And that is one thing I suggested and that we are talking about as far as the feasibility of actually bringing it on board.
Question from Commissioner Bernardo here.
Yeah.
Two questions. I want to back up a little bit. So on the data for the vehicle break-in thefts, understand, that it moves around different parks. Are we generally seeing that the number of those incidents across all parks is increasing, or is it kind of stable from year to year, but it's just moving around, or what are we seeing?
Well, it depends, because some parks tend to have a higher incident of the B&Es and the theft, while others.
Right, but I mean in total. Is it increasing from year to year, the number of incidents across all parks?
I wouldn't say that it's up. It ebbs and flows from year to year. That's kind of what you're asking.
I guess do we have access to the actual spreadsheet?
I can make it available to you. Absolutely. Yeah.
Even if it's just online.
Right.
My other question was, so on this monitoring device, whose responsibility is it to monitor? Is that something the police would do, or
it would fall to us in parks, but it's flexible, so we could actually work with LRPD.
Let me step in there. Let me help clarify. So Parks is working with Little Rock PD currently on cameras. What Perry is representing here is just a sample or something that he's grabbed and is showing as a solution for our parks in terms of security. But we're working day to day on different solutions and do have some cameras already, and are working to get more from Little Rock PD in terms of what some options are for parks. So this is just a general solution that Mr. Barry here has found. So yeah, just an example. So
very good. Any other commissioner questions? Yes, Commissioner Smith.
Comment that I have seen an increased police presence when I'm riding bikes. So I'm glad that, good to see. I think that's a well-used area that we want. I don't know what all's happened. I'm glad.
Right, we're working towards.
That's an interesting comment, Director or Commissioner Smith. So I've said the same thing recently to Chief Hilton, and I said I don't know exactly what you're doing either, but I see Little Rock Police a lot more around in our parks, and really do appreciate it, and really appreciate their services and help with all their matters, and they're very responsive. So thank you to them. Perry, appreciate your report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perry. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. And maybe we'll see you again soon. All right, commissioners, let's move on to, so on your agenda here, we have the next topic is sales tax. Director Couch, I know that we're going to hear from Director Peck here in a few moments on the sales tax. Did you want to say a few words here too?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to just use a few minutes, and then I'll turn it over to Cappy, if she would like to speak. I'm sure she would. So anyway, I just wanted to emphasize how exciting of a time this is for Little Rock Parks to be able to have an opportunity for something this big. This is understandable right now. This is all in progress or in the works. Nothing is 100% finalized. We are going to start going to the public, as I mentioned, August 14th on the city's website. There is the locations. I highly recommend that you come out and participate in one of those public meetings, whichever one is closest to you. Those are from 6 to 7 p.m. And we'll be generally just covering and answering any questions that any citizen might have. And I'll just briefly give you some big points or big projects that are exciting for Little Rock Parks. So this is roughly $60 million annual, $600 million over a 10-year period. And that's currently what is proposed. And War Memorial and Hyman are some of the bigger projects. War Memorial being an indoor and outdoor sports complex. There's also the project of tennis, indoor tennis, improvements at golf at Resmond and at First Tee. Jim Daly would receive some improvements. Our community centers, trails, seniors, playgrounds, really all of Little Rock Parks and Recreation's assets would have some improvement. And this is really focused on improving more of our existing by also providing additional funds for our operations and maintenance, which is highly needed so that we can maintain our parks at a higher level and operate these facilities. So that's just a real general brief cover, and I'll let Cappy speak if she'd like on the sales tax.
Director Peck, if you'll give me just 1 second here, just to quickly follow the agenda. Were there any agenda items for the next meeting that we needed to add? Commissioners, any additional agenda items for the next meeting? If not, then we will move on to board feedback, and Director Peck, you got the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Bowie. If you are interested in how the proposed proposal is broken down, I can email this to you. Probably Leland can too. But a mere 55% of this proposed tax would go to parks. That's big. With the rest being divvied up among public safety, infrastructure, a little bit for IT, homeless. But I've got the whole breakdown. I was pretty vocal in stating that I thought this was too fast. Even though the mayor did bring this up in March, we all got sidetracked by the tornado. He feels very strongly that we should call a special election and do this this November rather than wait till March, which is what some of us wanted to do. But I understand both sides. So now I'm on board to do this quickly, and I hope we can. If you can't come to the meeting in your ward, you can go to any meeting, but there's 7, and they're going to be fast and furious. And the first one is a week from today at the Unitarian Church on Reservoir, which happens to be in Ward 4. Again, I can share this with you, but I'm for parks with capital P, and this would be more than a boost in the arm. We have so many great parks already, but we all know that we do not have enough money to maintain and operate them. In addition to the parks, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this came up at the board meeting yesterday, Leland, there's money in here for the community centers. Sometimes people don't realize the community centers are under parks, but is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I believe the rough number that's in there is $1 million for each of them. We do have some current funds that we're expending right now on some upgrades in terms of we're designing for upgrades, and in that, the money that we're using from ARPA is focused on the mechanicals like HVAC, similar to like our challenge at Jim Daly. So the goal with this money is to actually do bigger improvements in terms of new features and new amenities for our community centers and continue to improve them.
And one thing that was brought up at the meeting, and I think it's very important to invest and reinvest in our community centers, some which have not gotten any TLC in a long time, is just the fact that we want them to be open 6 days a week. Saturdays are so important if we're going to serve kids with programming. That's currently not happening. But was that your understanding, Leland, that part of.
There's a discussion of having them open longer. You're correct. Currently, we are open on Saturdays. The day that
And
we're
all
not-
of them are open?
the one community center that is not fully open is East Little Rock. So there is discussion about more time. If we did, there is some, as I mentioned, operating and maintenance dollars. And so some of that operating could go to help with staffing for those community centers.
A couple of the other comments that I've gotten, especially from people that live in, well, not just in Ward 3, but Ward 4, is there's some pushback about the indoor sports facility being at War Memorial. I expect that that will be a topic that comes up a lot. And I mentioned to the mayor after the meeting last night that I was hearing some major pushback against that. And he said, well, it depends on what part of town you're from. And, you know, people want to keep a cream space or have a dog. Anyway, that is will all be fleshed out. But at any rate, as parks commissioners, I would encourage you to take a look at the parks piece specifically. And if you feel passionate and strongly about this, put it out on your social media platforms, go to these meetings, be a cheerleader for parks, because this would allow us to do some very important things. Another question people ask me is, why is AMFA, or the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts, why is it under this parks piece? And why are we going to give the Art Center, which is a brand new building, $3 million a year? And here's the answer to that. The Stevens family and others raised a lot of money. There was a little bit of city money in there to build a world-class, and I would say almost internationally classy museum. If you haven't been there, it's incredible. But it's there, and we have to maintain and operate it. And guess what? It's on city property. So we've made so many mistakes in the past about building beautiful and great things and not having the money to maintain them. So that's what that piece is for, if you're asked about it. And why is that under parks? That's why. And that was pretty fast and furious, but that's what I have to say. So the board, we would need 6 votes by the board of directors to get it on the ballot for November. Our deadline is September 5th. So that is very, very fast. So you have your assignments.
Thank you, Director Beck. All right,
Hey.
commissioners, questions?
Hey, Director Peck, this is Ben. Is there besides trying to find someone on the media, is there a place we can go and learn more about everything I'm saying in these meetings, where they are, when are they, all the above?
Yeah, the meeting schedule is on the littlerock.gov website, and I can email you or Leland the proposal. I thought somebody was bringing me something, but was that you cut out a little bit? Did you ask about the meeting schedule and the actual document with the breakdown?
Yes, ma'am, that'd be great.
Okay,
Director.
okay. I will email. I'll just email that to somebody on your team.
I
and you
can send out
disseminate it.
what the
And then
calendar is.
Calendar is on the littlerock.gov website.
Okay,
Commissioners, thank you, Commissioner France. Commissioner Smith.
Quite a bit about this indoor-outdoor sports facility. Is that mostly basketball? Is it tennis? Softball?
Yeah, sure. So the indoor complex is a 10-court. So let me back up. So Little Rock CVB is the one that did a study, and they had an existing study already completed back from previous sales tax proposals. So we understood what the need was for the city and some of the numbers. Obviously, that some of those numbers change over a period of time, and so Little Rock CVB, working with myself and others, are in the final processes of finalizing. I actually have a meeting this afternoon for the indoor. So we have new updated numbers for what would be needed. So right now, the indoor complex is a facility that would have 10 indoor courts. So the focus is not just basketball, but multi-purpose. So that could be anywhere from volleyball to pickleball to just special events. So things that might not fit perfectly in our State House Convention Center could fit in there, or all kinds of different facilities. This would be managed by independent provider that would report back to parks and to the city. And so they would be responsible for having events there, tournaments and whatnot. But the goal, to answer your question, is to have it as multifaceted as possible.
Can I say one quick thing?
Director Peck?
I'll be quick. So there have been several different the CVB's, the Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau. I sat on that commission for about 12 years and was part of 2 of those studies. And nothing's changed. In fact, it's accelerated. If anything, the number one piece of the tourism pie is youth sports. People with kids will travel. They will bring their families. They will stay here in our hotels and Airbnbs and eat in our restaurants and shop in our restaurants. No, see, I'm all about restaurants. Shop in our stores. Or you can shop in our restaurants. Sorry, it's not even funny. But it is such a huge piece of the tourism dollars that already come, and we all see that these people are going to Cabot and Benton and Bryant and. But again, I'm getting questions, but I'm getting questions about why there. But one of these studies, an out of state organization came in and ranked, oh gosh, Leland, it was like 25 different sites all over the city. This was back in the Gretchen Hall days. Have you seen that original study?
I was not aware of that, no.
Yeah, this has been kicked around at least for 15 years. And this particular study ranked different places. I know one of the top 3 was out around Western Hills. But at any rate, I'm getting some concern about Wyatt War Memorial. We need it. I want it. I don't know if that's the best place, but I'm sure we all will be hearing that.
Question.
With youth sports and, at one time ran a youth sports organization here in Little Rock. I could have bought a house in Memphis at the micro soccer complex. A number of weekends I traveled there with both my boys. So I applaud efforts to bring youth sports tournaments, especially to town. And I think it will raise the quality of play in our sports of many types, basketball primarily, but it brings people out and gives them an introduction to Little Rock.
Commissioner Versal, did you have a question, comment?
So I echo that. I mean, biggest proponent of youth sports, trust me, because I'm one of these parents that goes all over the country. So talking about War Memorial, I mean, I actually talked with Gretchen about that study years ago. And the reason for War Memorial is the rounds per day on the golf course didn't make sense. And it's in the heart of the city. It's got interstate access, and you've got the ancillary support real estate around it. So to me, War Memorial makes perfect sense, other than the topography, which obviously is going to be a challenge, but they'll work through that. As far as the indoor, Leland, just something to consider. There is a big time, and this is not just for soccer, but there is a big time need for indoor turf for people to play. Because I can't tell you how many times that, lacrosse, football, soccer, we can't play in these facilities because they all flood. And so anytime it rains, these kids don't get to play because they just mess up the fields. We need indoor turf. And not any sport specific, but just a multi-use turf facility.
So I've been in reviewing different sites in the state and reviewing their facilities as well. I won't name the exact one, but I was at one where they had just recently replaced their fields, their ball fields with turf, and they're outside. And we asked the question about use and rain, and we said, well, surely there's a little bit of delay when it rains or something like that. He said, actually, it can thunderstorm and rain for hours, and as soon as it stops, we can start playing again. So as much as I hear your concern, and I've been watching some other national videos of the different complexes, and they actually have looked at, there's some that have turf inside. I was like, well, maybe that's another conversation, which we'll definitely get to that point, and I appreciate you bringing that up. But I'm also excited of the idea of the outdoors to have turf fields that are, that will drain like that and still be utilized. So.
Thank you, Director Couch. Just a quick call out. We are a couple of minutes past the 1 o'clock hour. I don't want to stifle any final commissioner comments or questions if there are any. Yes, sir.
I've asked before, and I got some free time later today, so I'll pull through the old reports I think you guys sent to me for the last year. But is there anything internally you guys have that shows, Shawanda, when you were doing the report, it was really nice hearing like number of kids in the summer, people signed up for this, that, your reports usually have quite a bit of data on usage. But that's so powerful in these things going, not just the kids. I mean, that pulls at people, but some of the tennis tournaments, I mean, just in my sphere, pull in 200 participants. Well, they're bringing at least one parent or two or siblings, and what's the impact? And a lot of the pushback I've got recently in the last year about Parks and Rec stuff is people's making this offhanded, to me, insincere comment about, well, it should be revenue neutral. And I'm like, what? Where do you live? But two, there is a huge impact from what you guys do. I mean, just being the state's capital, which I love the mayor saying that all the time. I mean, this is the capital city. Everyone comes here, like it or not, for a lot of different things and use the park and stop off at the park for 5 minutes. And, I joked with you guys when you did Canis and the pickleball. I said, you need to put a sign up that says, hey, go gas up right here and buy some McDonald's so you can help pay for this stuff. Because most of the people were from out of town because there was no pickleball anywhere in the central Arkansas with dedicated courts. And I just think that some of those numbers, if it's handy or a way to pull it together quickly for some of these meetings, would be huge to show this isn't a one-sided tax where it's just money going out. There's going to be a huge impact coming back into the city through ancillary, whether it be service industry like that you work in or, taxes, et cetera.
Very good.
I'll cover that just briefly. So the pro forma that we had, that Little Rock CVB so gratefully does show some of that. They do a lot of studies in terms of all the numbers and the data, and so some of that will be shared. Somebody just informed me, I was just thinking about, other things that we do. I mean, we don't have huge numbers in regards to some of those complexes because we simply don't have them or don't have them to the capability of what we need. So there's that. Tennis does bring in tons of money here at our facility here. Another thing that brings in a ton of money is our Little Rock Marathon. I think it brings in over $3 to almost $4 million. So those are some of the numbers we can look at to see how Little Rock Parks, impacts the funding and why these things are so important as well, and how they support. They might not show that they're making tons of money, but it's because everybody's coming and spending the money. I think we all here know that, but I appreciate you bringing that point up.
That convention center report probably has it, but one of those multipliers that shows each head is worth X, and then there's an ancillary half
have that.
person, but I mean, that would be good to just have to show the impact for us to have the meeting so that we can.
I can get that.
Yeah, as soon as they're finalized, we can look at sharing some of that information.
And could I say just one last thing?
Sure.
In case you didn't see the news yesterday, 2 great pieces of news for downtown Little Rock. So do you know that the presidential library, they're getting ready to do a $100 million addition, and that the architect is Jeannie Gang, who did the Arkansas Museum of Fine Arts? That's huge. That's going to have a huge economic impact. That little whole area is going to be sweet.
Growing.
Hope I'm around to see that.
All right, commissioners. Yep.
And you had one more. I'm sorry. I thought you were going to mention the one on Main Street.
Yes. So the AG's office, public-private partnership, is going to occupy the Boyle Building not huge
Yeah.
for downtown.
Well, I'm assuming everybody knows, but Little Rock Parks does a lot to help maintain Main Street and keep the planters and the beautification and the trash picked up and all that. So whenever a derelict building gets to be renovated down there, it's a great thing. And it's right next to one of our big sculptures down there at the corner of Fifth and Main. And so really excited to hear that news. So.
Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Director Peck, thank you for your feedback. I'd like to echo your sentiments. This is an important thing. So commissioners, please do take some time to perform your own due diligence and participate in the communication. All right, everybody. The next meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission is going to be on Wednesday, September the 13th, 2023, 12 p.m. right here, same location. Thanks everybody for your time. Meeting adjourned. And thanks everybody for sticking around a few extra minutes.